Cate Kennedy, legendary Australian short story writer and festival goer and Castlemaine dweller. Is it Castlemaine?
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
And Castlemaine is a hotbed of Australian writers, of course.
Oh, you can't move without striking a couple of them. Yeah, they're everywhere. Artists and writers,
Wow.
they're everywhere.
Is Castlemaine a city?
I don't think it's a city. No, it's a smaller town, I think. It's not a
Oh,
city in the way that Perth or perhaps Albany is a city.
yeah. We are now currently at 42,000 people. And a lot of people think of us as a city, but we're not. We're just a big town, really.
Mm.
And you're
Well, we're a
coming.
slightly smaller country town. So
Ah,
yes, it'll be
and you're
good.
going to visit us. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Why are you going to?
Well, I'm coming over to WA to take part in the Australian Short Story Festival.
Ah,
And then I'm going to jump in a hire car and come along to come to Albany. And I'm going to visit
yeah. See the sights.
and I see the sites, but also I'm going to teach a story workshop at Albany Library,
Brilliant.
which will be fantastic. So I get a chance to meet some local writers. And then, John, you and I are doing something else.
Oh. We're going to have a chat in the library that night.
In the library, and not just us, other people
Oh,
can
the
come
other.
as well. Otherwise, we just go to the pub, wouldn't we?
I know. Now, in the workshop, will you be concentrating on the short story? Because you are, of course, known as a short story. In fact, I first heard of you as this amazing short story writer. And because I was an avid reader of the short story, when I met you, I was shaking in the knee. The other knee was fine. One knee
I didn't notice it. Well, I will be. Look, I tend to think that the things that you can learn by writing short story are kind of transportable in all other kinds of writing styles as well. So if people have got some unfinished work, maybe it's a longer piece of work, maybe it's even something that they're working on, which is their family history or a life story. We're going to be looking at how to bring that to life using the techniques, which of course work with story across all the different genres.
Well, I think if people want to go, they better start booking because
A better book.
Be big demand.
Can you give some details so
I
that
will. I'll
people
put
know
on the click, the click below, that sort of thing.
the click below thing? That's right. That's what the young folks are doing.
Before we get to the chat bit, which we won't chat about because that's what the chat will be. The chat will be a chat. I was wondering because I went through my list of favoured short story writers, and I've got a hell of a list here. Henry James, Guy de Maupassant, Kafka, Scott Fitzgerald, Hemingway, Joyce Carol Oates, Heinrich Böll, Robert Drew, Cate Kennedy, Trevor Shearston. Remember Trevor Shearston?
Trevor Shearston
wrote a lot of book of short stories set in Papua New Guinea.
No, I don't. But maybe when I come to visit, I can have a look at yours and
I've still got
it. Some.
So, who are your all-time great short stories?
Oh my God. There's a lot of people talk about Chekhov as the great short story author, Chekhov, because he was such a compassionate, kind person, and also he was able to kind of bring the inner life of his characters to life in a way that was really revolutionary. And the next person, I think, who kind of took the baton as the great voice of short fiction was Alice Munro from Canada. Also fantastic writer of the form. But there's so many. There's so many in the UK and in Europe and in in the US as well, but also in countries, there's fantastic short story authors living in Japan and living sort of across Asia, really. And it's great to find writers in translation that you've never come across before, and just kind of that's often what happens. I'm trying to think who I've really enjoyed, for example, Claire Keegan's work of late, who's written she's an Irish author who, like me, takes her time between collections and between works, but just wonderful small gems, not big fat novels.
No.
Beautiful, small, distilled, perfect stories.
And you and I, of course, are in a book.
Yes, that was great, wasn't it? So John and I were in a book, of stories that were inspired by Nick
gonna
Cave
be
songs.
it's gonna be fascinating. It's going to be intriguing. It's going to be exciting. We'll show you the sights. People will stop us in the street. Hey, who's that with Cate Kennedy? They'll say. Well, he's at the pub.
Looking forward to our little in conversation, because I must say, John, often when people say, oh, come along to a festival, there's going to be an in conversation on the stage, it doesn't often feel like a real conversation to me. It just feels like kind of talking heads, and someone talks about their book, and then they go out to the foyer and you line up and you get your book signed, and that's the deal. But what I'm looking forward to with you on the Wednesday night at the library is actually being able to have a writerly kind of a conversation where we can chat, ask each other questions. The audience who's there can ask us questions. It'll be great.
Yes, there are some who
do a reading.
What happened?
Do a reading maybe from our
work. We
work.
might even do a short reading.
We may even do a surprise thing.
We might even do something that'll remove their socks.
Well, let's make sure we don't record it, because one thing I love doing as well is being at events where if you weren't there, you missed it. Do you know what I mean? I love those things that happen with word of mouth, where we just all have to be there in that same room together, having a good time. And there's no way you can look at it later on YouTube or whatever. It's just something that you just have to come to. So I'm inviting people to please, if you'd like to come along to the workshop, that'd be fantastic. If you'd also like to come along to the In Conversation with John Doust, I would love to see you there. We'll have a wine, maybe, have a bit of cheese.
Oh, yeah. Have a local cheese, local wine.
Local cheese. Yes.
No recording.
No, that's what I think. Let's just make it live and live only.
We're waiting for you, Kate. Your room is ready.
Oh, I can't wait to visit. Hey, I'll see you there, everybody.